Hi, Becky Allen here, personal trainer, fitness coach, wellness coach, Arbonne independent consultant. I just was coming to you today to talk about caffeine and what, if it's good or is it bad, or coffee specifically. There's a big debate about coffee, and of course, it ranges between caffeine and that it's bad for you, or that coffee itself has great benefits. So just kind of level the playing field, I suppose. First, I'm just going to address the whole thing about caffeine. And yes, it is easy to become addicted to caffeine. Actually, caffeine and alcohol are the top two psychoactive drugs used in the United States, which meaning that they affect how your brain works. And they affect the sympathetic nervous system. That's what caffeine and alcohol both do. So that's deals with anger, fear, anxiety. It can cause an increase in heart rate. It can cause a tremor, your higher blood pressure, jittery feeling, rapid or shallow breathing, and your sensitivity to pain, and lots of other things. So these are all things that your sympathetic nervous system control. And so when you take a drug such as alcohol or caffeine, then it's going to affect how that nervous system actually works, along with some other things. So it's not necessarily bad that you'd be addicted to caffeine, because, it just depends on how it affects you, and it really is an individual decision. But it takes as little as 100 milligrams of caffeine a day to cause an addiction. I personally just have not wanted to be addicted to anything, and it's just my own personal philosophy, including caffeine. So there was one time that, this is not something that I've always done, but there was a time when I was just drinking 2 cups of coffee a day, and that was my normal, and I was like, I'm not going to have any more. And then I got sick for a couple of days and could not eat anything. And I'm telling you, the headache I had was exquisite. And this is a normal symptom, a normal withdrawal symptom of caffeine addiction. It is this splitting headache, or the headache that just will not go away. A lot of people will say, the things like Excedrin, which people take for migraines because it has caffeine, because it's also a vasorestrictor. So, in some regards it can help, and in some regards it can actually bring on the pain. So it can also, withdrawal symptoms also include drowsiness, irritability, and difficulty in concentrating. Now, all these stats I'm getting from this one, medbroadcast.com. So if you want to look that up for yourself, I'll post the website there. So then we have the issue of, it's like, well, okay, maybe I really like my coffee because, by the way, coffee has a lot of really great reasons that you would want to drink it. This is from a couple of benefits. One from the Journal of Pain. Says that 2 cups of coffee can cut your post-workout muscle pain. Okay, well, that sounds pretty good. But then again, the caffeine is not such a good thing after a workout. It's also, caffeine is also not even a vasorestrictor, but also a dehydrate your body. Diuretic. It's actually a good source of fiber, which seems kind of odd. Apparently, it can protect against cirrhosis of the liver, and I'm reading this. This is coming out of the Archives of Internal Medicine. So a lot of scientific backing for these claims. Apparently, it can lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. I'm learning some things new here too. By 9% for each daily cup, and even decaf is good for like 6% of the decrease. Lowering the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Well, that's a nice one. That one came from the European Journal of Neurology. So you can see there's lots and lots and lots of, and plus it's a great source of antioxidants. So there's a lot of good things that we get from our coffee. So you might not want to give it up completely. On the other hand, one of the other bad things besides the caffeine is that it's also very acidic. So you're balancing out these good benefits on the one hand, and then looking at the caffeine addiction and the negative side of it, like post-workout, for instance, or the fact that it's acidic. And as maybe a lot of you have heard, when your body is in an acidic state, it's actually more prone to disease. So my opinion is that if you're fighting disease, then maybe coffee is not your best friend. It's got good things, it's got bad things. So maybe the whole idea is moderation. All right, so sorry to you guys who are coffee addicts. You know, they got to have it all day long. It might not be the best course of action for you. Now, the other thing too is like since caffeine's like a lot of the problem, a lot of people come against it because of that. I looked into the processes of decaffeinating coffee, and maybe a lot of us has heard that, man, they use chemicals. You know, it's like, oh, it's awful. They use chemicals to decaffeinate the coffee. And so I looked into that, and I found a great web page called coffeeconfidential.org. And I'll post that one as well. Had a lot of, explained the 4 major ways of decaffeinating coffee, one being direct solvent, indirect solvent, the Swiss water method, and the carbon dioxide method. Now, of course, the Swiss water is the one that kind of comes out. That's your creme de la creme. It's the one that's used mostly with all of the organic coffees. That method itself is qualifies as organic and kosher even. So, you know, if you're looking for that decaffeinated coffee that still is going to have a really great flavor, and it's just very interesting the way they do it. At least you look that up, the Swiss water method. That looks like the best option. I mean, I'm actually tempted now to go ahead and buy myself something that's probably quite expensive. There's a Swiss water manufacturing coffee roaster in British Columbia. So that's our North American base. But apparently, you know, it does originate in Switzerland. But the solvent one, you know, directly, it's either the beans are soaked in the solvent, which doesn't sound that great, and it's either methylene chloride, which is one of the things, or there's an indirect method where the beans are actually soaked in water, which draws the caffeine off, and then the water is washed, so to speak, in this in the ethyl acetate. All right, and which the ethyl acetate then like picks up the caffeine molecules because they're smaller, yes, and they're smaller, and so it picks them up, and then they can extract, put it through a carbon filter and extracts the caffeine from it. So it's interesting, but lots of different methods. But the point being with even with the chemical methods, both of those compounds, the methylene chloride and the ethyl acetate, they are very volatile. They actually burn off at like only 104 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas coffee is roasted like 400 degrees, you know. So it's that's why the FDA says, hey, it's okay, because there's just trace little amounts that actually cling to the beans. And then through the roasting process, there's like hardly any chance that any of this chemical residue has remained there, you know. So and you're still going to have some caffeine in your decaffeinated coffee. Just by default, the FDA says 97% is good. Some of these other guys, the Swiss method, they said they can get like up to 99.9% and still have all the flavor. So I think that's one of the biggest issues we don't like decaf for. But anyway, so that is it on coffee and caffeine. And I hope you got some value from this. Maybe I just put it all in a nutshell for you. So, you know, go ahead and enjoy that cup of coffee. Just don't overindulge, just like anything, right? Everything in moderation. All right. Hope you have a great day.